When I was first introduced to Bigger Gains International, it was pretty apparent to me really early on that I'm pretty much captive in every area of my life. That was kind of an eye-opener for me because I kind of expected to find a few areas where I was captive, but it really just made me open my eyes and take a look and realize that in every area of my life there is some level of captivity. So especially one of the biggest things that I realized was that emotionally and even financially, I've been successful in many different areas, but I think there was a level of denial that made me, that I was denying that I was in captivity in those areas, and I was kind of going backwards. Specifically for me, as far as the emotional aspect of my captivity, I realized that, I had been successful. I'd had successful relationships, personal relationships, business relationships, but I've gone through a season of change in my life, and it was very, very difficult for me to admit to myself and to anyone else that I was captive. And it was specifically in areas where I just did not want to open my eyes and look at it. As a mom, I feel like a lot of decisions that I've made have impacted my children's lives, some for the good and some not so good. And it was hard for me to look at myself and look at the areas where I had enabled myself to become captive and just step back and take the effort and the steps needed to make the changes that were necessary in order to become free. For me, the resistance comes from every day. It comes from my kids. It comes from, my own lack of inertia. I mean, the fact that, we let ourselves get into habits to where we do things or we say things or we think things, we have these limiting beliefs. I mean, it just becomes this self-perpetuating monster that it takes effort to push against. And sometimes it's just so much easier to wake up and think, you know what, I just want to do things the way I've been doing them. But Bigger Gains has really made me realize that if I just keep doing things the same way I've been doing them, I'm going to keep getting the same things that I've always gotten. And those aren't the things that I want for me. They're not the things I want for my family. They're not the things I want for my kids or my future. I've spent so many hours reading books on parenting and on living life to its fullest and on seeking the best things for our own lives and making choices that are valuable and that will make a positive impact, not only in my life, but in the lives of others. I spent time with my business partner. We've spent time in prayer. We spent time talking. We've spent time in church together. We've just spent so much time looking for other avenues because it just, through this Bigger Gains mindset, it just really opens your eyes that you just don't have all the answers on your own. My desire is to have an impact on my children's lives. I want to be the most positively influential person in their lives. I've worked so hard to lay a foundation of truth and principles in their life. And I feel like, through that captivity cycle, I have somewhat allowed myself to kind of step back from that. And I have not been living the way that I feel like I have to in order to provide everything my kids are going to need in life, not just from a principle standpoint, but I need to be able to provide for them not only mentally and emotionally and spiritually, but I also have to provide for them financially. I have to make them feel secure. And, I want them to understand those same principles so that they don't find themselves living in captivity and looking for ways to get out of that captivity. I want to bring them up in freedom. I want to be able to teach them. And so because of that desire, that's the thing that keeps me up at night. That's the thing that wakes me up in the morning and makes me get out of bed and work and seek and to find the answers, to find the things that I need to do in order to give those things to my kids and to their kids in the future. When I first got introduced to Bigger Gains, one of the really enlightening pieces was the accountability glasses. And I will honestly say that I always said, I'm not a victim. But what I realized after going through the information was that even though I'm saying I'm not a victim and I'm claiming that I am not a victim, I was in denial in a lot of areas. And it really made me take a look at myself. The exercise where we talked about something that had happened to us, because bad things happen to us all the time. Bad things happen to me, to you, to everyone. But it's all about how we choose to look at it. It's about our perspective. It's about how the parts of that incident that we focus upon, and really holding yourself accountable to the choices that you make, and the part that you play in those experiences has a huge impact on whether or not you are in captivity or whether or not you're free. Fair Gains has had such a huge impact on my life because every single day it makes me aware of the choices that I make and the choices that I don't make, and that they're both equally important. And as far as me being able to live the life that I dream for myself and for my kids, or whether I choose to be in captivity and consider myself a victim, I will never again consider myself a victim. I choose to live a life of freedom by design.